it's Laura here from makingcardsisun.com, and welcome to another installment of Ready Set Stamp with LLC. This is the second video of this new video series. Ready Set Stamp with LLC is a collaboration between me and my two friends Laurel Beard and Catherine Poehler. In today's videos, we're going to be using some goodies from Lawn Fawn. We will be using the Toboggan Together stamps and dies, along with the snowy backdrop die cut. You can also win these products by leaving a comment on our videos, and then we will be announcing the winners next week. You can also visit my blog for more information about this giveaway. So let's get started with my project. I'm going to create a holiday card since the Toboggan Together stamps by Lawn Fawn is just simply adorable. I really couldn't resist using those penguins, and then you also have like some more images like a sleigh, snowballs. There are these really cute deers. There's just a lot of images in this stamp set, and they're just perfect to create your own little Christmas scene. So I'm starting out by stamping those penguins and the other images onto some Simon Says Stamp Ultra Heavyweight cardstock. I am using my Memento Tuxedo black ink for that since I'll be doing some Copic coloring. I'm going to do some really simple Copic coloring today. I'm starting out with my lightest color. This is N4, and I'm going to color the entire image using that Copic marker. Then I'm moving on to my darkest color just to add a little bit of shading. I am using the N6 Copic marker, and I'm going to add that to the bottom of that image, and then I'm working my way up. I'm going to blend that dark color using my lightest color, which is N4. Just going to move my brush upwards and downwards just to blend that all together really nicely. Then I'm also giving the face of that penguin a little bit of shading. I am using an NO Copic marker, but I'm going to blend that out with the colorless blender because I just wanted that to be a little bit lighter. The colorless blender actually takes some of that color away, so you can also use that to create like dots on your colored images. Then for the feet and for that beak, I am using the Y13 Copic marker. This is my lightest color, and then I'm going to move on to Y19, and I am using that to add some shading. Then I'm going to blend that dark color a little bit with the lightest color. So I'm using the Y13 Copic marker again just to blend that a little bit out. Then for the Santa hat, I am using R24. This is the lightest color as well. So I'm just going to color the entire image with that marker. And then for the shading, I am using R29. I am not going to blend that out with my lightest color because there won't be enough contrast. So I'm just adding a little bit of shading to that hat using NO, and then I'm going to color the sleigh. I am using E55 first, so I'm just adding that as the first color or the first base or layer, and then I'm using the E57 color to add some shading. So I'm just going to add that close to those lines. I usually use the lines as a guide for my shading since that's just a little bit easier to do. After I colored all of those images, I used the coordinating dies to cut out the penguins and the sleigh, just because it's easier. Then I'm going to do some watercoloring. I am using some Canson watercolor paper, and I added a lot of water to that paper first, just using my paintbrush and some clear water. For this card, I am using the Kuretake Gansai Tambi or Tamba, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, watercolors because I just really love those colors. However, you could also just use like distress inks or any other watercolor palettes that you may have. I'm just adding a lot of water for my first layer, and I am not adding that much color, to be honest. I usually add a lot of water for my first layer, and then I go back in with more color for my second layer. So I'm using that pearlized watercolor over there just to give it some extra shine. If you don't have this palette, then you can use some perfect pearls to get that shiny look on your card. So the first layer needs to be dried completely before I will move on to my second layer. So I just use my heat tool for that. And as you can see, I am using less water for my second layer. So I'm just adding in a lot of color and only a little bit of water. As you can see, I added a little bit too much of that blue color over there, so I'm just going to use my baby wipe to remove that color a little bit because it was just a bit too intense in my opinion. So I'm just going back in with some of the colors that I used for my first layer, but just notice that I'm not using that much water. I am just only using some water to blend the colors a little bit together. And I also used that pearlized watercolor to blend everything together, just to get that shiny and that pearly look that I really like. So after heat setting it, I'm going to create my own stencil using the snowy backdrop die from Lawn Fawn. I am just going to die cut that die using some white cardstock. However, if you want to reuse that stencil, then I suggest to use some acetate or some clear plastic, since you can just clean that off easily and put it in a storage pocket. But yeah, I'm just going to use some cardstock now. I'm using some painter's tape to adhere that stencil to my cardstock temporarily. And I'm using some white Wendy Vecchi embossing paste to add some snow and stars. You have to make sure that your watercolor piece is completely dry before you're going to do this step. So I'm just adding the paste onto that card. I'm going to scrape off all of the excess embossing paste, and then I can just put that in the jar. As you can see, you don't really need a lot of embossing paste for one stencil. So I'm just going to put everything back into the jar, and then I can use that embossing paste for future projects. So here you can see me using the coordinating dies. I am using a little die for all of these snowballs. I didn't end up using that, but yeah, just thought I would mention that. I wanted to create a snowy hill for my card today, so I'm going to create my own glitter paper. I am just grabbing some white cardstock and I pressed my Versamark ink pad on there, and I'm just sprinkling on some neutral ultra shimmer embossing powder by Wow. You can also use some, just some glitter paper, but I just create my own using some embossing powder. I used the Stitch Borders one die cut set from Pretty Pink Posh to die cut that snowy hill. Then after I adhered that border to that piece of cardstock, I used a rectangle die cut from the large stitched rectangles die cut set from Lawn Fawn. And then I'm just going to position all of those images on there temporarily so I could figure out where I had to stamp that stamp over there, just to give the card some more action or just some more interest. So it kind of looks like the penguin is really like throwing the snowball to the other penguin over there. So I'm going to adhere all of those images onto my card using some foam adhesive, just using some foam squares, and then I also use some Tombow Mono adhesive to adhere that sleigh over there. I'm just going to do the same for that Santa hat. I am using some foam adhesive, but I'm also using some Tombow Mono multi-glue for that. Then for the greeting, I am using the Happy Holidays stamp from the Toboggan Together stamp set by Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to stamp that greeting on there using some Memento Tuxedo black ink. I am going to cut that greeting in two, just using my Fiskars Sure-Cut, and just going to trim that down a little bit, and then I adhered that onto that watercolored scene. I just couldn't resist adding some more sparkle and shine, so I'm using a Clear Wink of Stella glitter pen just to add some shine here and there. I'm also going to adhere that rectangle onto a white note card. This is some wood grain cardstock, by the way. I'm just adhering that piece onto that card using some foam adhesive. Then after I adhered that piece onto the card, I'm just finishing off my project by adhering some sequins. I'm using a sequin mix from the Ton, and I'm adhering those sequins on my card using some glossy accents and my EK Success tweezers. And then finally, I am adding some more glossy accents to all of these images, and the sparkle of that Clear Wink of Stella glitter pen will even stand out more when you add glossy accents. So that finishes up my card. Be sure to leave a comment here on my video for a chance to win the Toboggan Together set along with the snowy backdrop die. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon. Bye bye!